Okay. All right. Let's see. We'll give everyone just a few more minutes. If you are joining, if you will type in where you are dialed in from, we would just love to know where everyone is located. I'm in San Diego and Raye is in Georgia. And it's so nice to have you guys here with us. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and launch this poll. So if you have joined, please go ahead and take this poll and just let us know a little bit about you so we can just really like tailor this discussion. Okay, so far everyone is expecting their first baby, Raye.
Oh, yay.
This is really the perfect discussion for you.
Now, exactly.
Yes. Okay, hi guys. We have a few more people that have joined. So if you are just logging on, I just launched a quick poll. So if you'll just answer that question and let us know a little bit about the life stage you are in, that would be amazing. And if you want, in the chat or question section, let us know where you're dialed in from. And this is meant to be just a really vulnerable conversation. So if there are questions that you guys have that you really need answered, now is your chance. So please do not be afraid to ask us any questions. I will filter them for Raye and ask her since she is the expert. But if there's anything you guys need help with, please do not hesitate to put it in the chat. It is anonymous, so if you ask a question, no one else can see it except for me. I'm Sarah, the host. So that would be great. Okay, so let me see how I can end this poll so we can just get started. 1 second, you guys. Okay. How do I end this poll? Okay, so Raye, quick update. Half of the people are expecting their first baby. Okay. A few of them are new parents and a few of them are other. So this is perfect timing for all of you.
Yay. I'm so
excited too. Okay, how on earth do I close this poll? I have no idea. So let me, poll complete. Okay, ready to close. Close poll. Okay, let's go back to, okay, I see you. Amazing. Let me just close this out with you guys and we'll get started. Okay. I'm trying to find you. There you are. Okay, let's get started.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so thank you guys so much for being here. Like I said, this is meant to be a discussion and we are here to help and support you as best as we can. So if there are questions that you need answered, please do not be afraid to put them in the chat. It's anonymous and I will share them and ask Raye. So again, thank you for being here. I'm Sarah, the founder of Poppy List, a simplified baby registry platform if you're not familiar. And when I built out the solicited advice series, I knew that we would have discussion on postpartum care because when I had my first daughter, Amelia, who just turned 4, not a single person in my life shared with me about how hard that period of time was going to be. The moment I gave birth until still, and now I have a second baby in the picture. Like there was no conversation anyone had with me about how to prepare, what it was actually going to be like. So I think for this discussion, what I'm going to ask everyone to do is get rid of any preconceived idea about what postpartum should look like, because one, it's different for everyone, and what you see on the internet is not the reality. There are definitely some people who share the vulnerabilities, but this bounce back culture, just doing all these things right after you have a baby, is not most people's reality. And that was why it was so important to have this discussion. So Raye, we're so honored you are with us today. Thank you so much for giving us your time and insight. So I will hand it over to you to introduce yourself, and then I will start asking you some really important questions.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you all so much for joining. My name is Raye. I am a nurse. I did primarily public health nursing, focusing on moms, children, and babies. I am a full spectrum doula, which means that I don't just do like birth and postpartum, but I do the whole full spectrum, whether that's like helping people who are trying to conceive, obviously prenatal, childbirth education, baby wearing, birth, postpartum, and also caring for people after loss, which is technically postpartum, but kind of gets overlooked, and I don't like that. Um, I'm also a certified breastfeeding specialist, studying to become an IBCLC. I'm certified in perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, and I am also a mom. I'm a single mom, and I became a mom after a journey of infertility, being diagnosed with PCOS, endometriosis, and a tilted uterus. And I have also experienced loss. So a whole lot of things going on. And it's just like my whole life basically revolves around the work that I do, the work that I'm passionate about in this topic. And surprisingly, I also did not plan for postpartum, and I was not prepared at all for what my body and my mind was going to go through during the postpartum period, which is why this conversation is so important to me, because I really like to teach all of my one-on-one doula clients, like, you need to come up with a postpartum plan. It is just as important as a birth plan, and I know we'll get into all of that in our discussion. But I'm just so passionate about it because on social media, it just seems like, oh, I had this baby. 4 days later, I'm doing my makeup and I'm all glammed up and I'm up and moving around and I'm doing the dishes and I'm just snapping back. And when that didn't happen for me, I was very confused and I felt like I was doing something wrong. And that's never how a new mom should feel after going through the journey of pregnancy and birth. Like, we shouldn't expect our bodies have to snap back. Um, that's why this conversation is so important. And I'm so excited. I'm not gonna get ahead of myself.
Yeah, we could probably have several hours, but we're going to condense it and make it as precise and, and action oriented as we can. So I want to ask you something. What was the one specific moment, like in your life, that you decided to enter this field to help people prepare? Like, what was the one thing that happened that you're like, I have to change my career and do this?
Okay, I so when I went to nursing school, right, I went to nursing school with the idea that I was going to become a women's health nurse practitioner. And that was just because of my own experience, like with being dismissed, struggling with the endometriosis forever and going from doctor to doctor and not being diagnosed. And then I became a nurse and I was like, I don't really like this, how this whole medical system thing is going. I think I'm just going to do public health and I'm just going to be happy with that. I'm just going to skip out on working with moms and babies. But then I got pregnant and a documentary came out midway of my pregnancy talking about the maternal mortality rate in Georgia. And then it's like my heart started opening back up and it was like, you got to do something about this. This was your original passion. And I know you said one thing, but two things. So just two, and I'll keep it short. So I was going to church with this girl who was also pregnant. And when she told me about her birthing experience, in which she was basically just forced to lay on her back, she wanted to move around and do all the things. And they like held her down on her back and made her push on her back. And then, like, forcefully manually detached her placenta and she hemorrhaged. And I was like, there's no way this can be happening. And they know that there's a maternal mortality crisis in Georgia. And it just got the fire like up to here. And then I had my own baby, and we went through our struggles with lactation. And the staff lied to me about not offering donor milk, even though in my mind I knew that they offered donor milk because I chose to deliver at a baby friendly facility for that reason. And when they told me no, that they didn't have it, and lactation really wasn't supportive, and I realized that I was going down the same funnel that I had heard about other people doing, it just shot the fire like up out of my
Mhm.
head. And I was like, yep, I'm going to become a doula. I'm going to become a lactation specialist because I have to do something about what is happening in
Yeah.
Georgia. Yeah. So like, I think my son was like
So
3 months old
experience
when
my
I
husband.
applied. My son was like 3 months old when I applied to get my certified breastfeeding specialist certificate. And then he was like 1 when I became a doula.
Wow. Well, thank you for entering this field, for all the women you've already helped and will continue to help. And we need more of you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Also, sorry that experience happened to your friend and you. So being in this world, for the people who are on the call today, what are 3 things that people should not do? Like, what are 3 mistakes that you see people make when they're trying to prepare for their postpartum recovery? So 3 things, 3 mistakes that you see people try to make for this moment in time.
Absolutely. So the first mistake I see is people do not plan at all for postpartum, whether they're just kind of people who feel like, I'm just going to go with the flow, like whatever happens, I'll just sort it out then. Or if maybe they're like me and they're so focused on the birth that they kind of forget that that's not all to this, and that that postpartum is a huge shift mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And you need to create that plan just like you would plan like a birth plan. And you're going to be intentional about, like, I want to deliver here. These are the people that I want in the room with me. This is the type of like support that I want. You need to map that out for postpartum too. Like, who's going to be with you, who's going to be helping you, who's going to help with food, who's going to make sure that you're taking care of yourself mentally. Like, create that same level of
Mhm.
care for postpartum that you would do with the birth. And that's,
Okay.
go ahead.
See that happen often. Yeah. I mean, that was my experience the first time I wasn't prepared for anything. So, sort of in the same vein, what are the 3 most important things someone should do to prepare for postpartum?
Absolutely. So, and I know the word village gets thrown around a lot on social media, and everybody's like, where is the village? Sometimes the village doesn't just show up. You got to create it, and you got to tell them what to do and how to be that village. So that might look like um, finding lactation support, pelvic floor support, a therapist. Like, maybe you need to find those things before you're in the middle of postpartum, because it's really hard to have postpartum depression and look for a new therapist at the same time. Like, it's really hard if your people around you, like your family and your physical support people, don't know anything about postpartum and what to look out for, so they don't know how to support you. It's really hard to ask for help as a new mom if you see other moms doing it all by themselves, and then you feel like, well, I don't even know what I need to feel better. I don't know what type of support I need, like when you're in the thick of it. So much easier if you assign people duties while you're still pregnant and they know, like,
Right.
okay, I'm going to be responsible for food. I'm going to help you meal prep. Even if you have to hire, I mean, sometimes you got to pay to have the village, and that might look like a postpartum doula or a night nurse or a nanny or a sibling doula. Like, whatever type of team of people you need to create that village is what I want people to start doing before they get in the thick of it.
Yeah. So, so smart. So, a few specifics from my experience with my first daughter, Amelia, for those that are on the line. When I prepped sort of like my postpartum cart or basket, if you will, of like products like my pads, my, Tux pads, the spray, the mesh underwear, all of it, extra toilet paper, whatever. I had it behind the toilet. There was one time when I was using the restroom, and sorry, we're gonna get real here. I couldn't reach where I had put those things. My body hurt so bad. I could not reach and like grab the products I needed. And I just remember sitting on that toilet bawling because I was so embarrassed to yell for my husband Scott to come in to help me reach something, which should have been so easy, but my body just like physically couldn't do it. So those are like small minor things that you don't even you can't possibly think through those scenarios before you give birth. So a one tip I would give is the support products that you need for when you're using the restroom, changing your pads, whatever, because you will have postpartum bleeding, put them in front of you and sit on your toilet, and are the things that you need within reach that don't require you to really like contort your body. So I think about that moment all the time because I was like riddled with shame and embarrassment, even though my husband just watched me deliver our daughter. There's something about those hormones surging that you just like can't possibly control. And
Right.
so having my products in a place that is easily accessible was like key. And then to your point, there are some people in your life that want to support you, but they just like literally don't know how. So my mother, she functions best with a task. Like she's very action oriented, and I knew that about her. So my mom's responsibility when she came to help was, then you are on food prep. My husband had to go back to work. Then I need you to help me with my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like I want to take care of my baby, but I need someone taking care of me when Scott went back to work. So like who in your life can you assign those really specific tasks to? Who's the person that you can say, hey, we're running low on groceries. Can you go get them for me? So those really like specific things were really helpful for me, for sure.
Yeah, I can definitely relate. Like with my grandma, I knew ahead of time that she was not going to be that emotional support person that I
Mhm.
needed, but she was very good about making meals. Like, so out, you can be in charge of the food. And she also really enjoyed washing my cloth diapers, which is something that I wanted to do. So you can be on diaper duty if that's how you want to help. And if that, I mean, that definitely took a load off of me. And so I knew though still that I needed that emotional support. So I had a doula,
Yeah,
and it was a sacrifice to pay for a doula, but I cut back on having this big elaborate baby shower and reallocated those funds so that I could have postpartum support. And I'm so glad that I did because I had no idea that I would tear during delivery. I thought that was not going to happen to me. And I was in a lot of pain. Nobody talks about like how bad you hurt after you tear.
right.
I did have a second degree tear, but most people was like, like, oh, just use your little pads and you'll be okay. No, it really hurts.
Yeah,
Like I remember saying, like, why does it hurt to walk? And my doula was like, because you're walking too much and you're not resting, and you're not sitting on the donut pillow. And I realized, like, I just felt like my healing should be further along than what it was, and so I didn't want to slow down and do all the things because it made me feel like I was failing, which is
yeah,
why I needed the doula to remind me, like, no, you need to slow down and you don't need to compare your postpartum journey and where you are to anybody
totally.
else.
Raye, can you, we have a woman asking, what is a donut pillow?
Oh, yeah. So, dang, normally I have everything all unpacked so I can just grab it. But basically, it's a pillow that literally looks like a donut. So it's cut out in the middle so that when you sit down on it, it takes some of the pressure off of those tissues that are inflamed, just got stitched up, and all of those things. It's also really good if you have suffer from like hemorrhoids too, not just tearing. But it made all the difference for me. And especially, I would even take it in the car because car rides were terrible. And my son had jaundice and then he had a tongue tie. So we had so many appointments to go to after we got discharged. Another pet peeve of mine because I feel like people should come to postpartum people's house.
Yeah.
But like getting back to the pediatrician, getting to the lab, getting to the lactation consultant, getting to the dentist, like the car rides were excruciatingly painful until I used that pillow.
Okay, awesome. I let her know that we'll send a link to one. You can send me, if you have one that you like, just
Yeah.
send me the link later and I can send in the post event email.
Okay.
Um, Okay, so the two other things that I wanted to mention that we talked about in our pre-event call, when we think about preparing for postpartum care and everything. So I did not understand postpartum depression or anxiety, and mine did not really appear until 6 months into being a new mom. And it was not pretty. And it was scary. I didn't recognize who I was. I did not recognize my own thoughts. And we can go into that in another discussion. But the point I want to make is I was better prepared when I got pregnant with my second, knowing what a possibility it was for me to experience postpartum depression again. And so what I did, and this is something for those people on the call, if you experience depression now, and even if you don't, it is very possible that it could happen to you immediately, further down the line, whatever. I have a therapist, I signed a release form with my therapist, which is a thing. So if there is a therapist in your life, you can ask them for a release form, and you can put your partner's name or your mom or whoever that really trusted person is in your life. You can put their name on a release form so that if they observe something in you before you see it yourself, they can actually legally contact your provider, your therapist, whomever, and that therapist, it gives her or him permission to reach out to you for help and support. So just know that that is, Raye, remember you were like, I didn't even know that. So
Right.
that is a thing, you guys. You can ask your therapist, whomever, for a release form. And I signed a release form for my husband because he knew what to look for. And he started to spot my depression before I even could recognize it. And if that's a conversation you can have with your village, your support partner, whoever those people are, everyone should educate themselves on the symptoms because the people closest to you might see it first before you do. And what an amazing way for someone to be able to support you. It makes me emotional thinking about it, but that is an act of love. It might piss you off if someone contacts your therapist, but listen, people are doing this because they love you and they care about your well-being, your mental health, they care about your family. And so consider that as an option as you enter like this new chapter.
Absolutely. I did not have a therapist pregnancy. If I did, I feel like she would have noticed that I had perinatal anxiety. Just as soon as my pregnancy began, my anxiety just spiraled. And I didn't know that anxiety during pregnancy was even a thing back then. But I wish that I would have done that because it's almost like I was relying on myself and my doula to recognize if I had postpartum depression. So that's all I thought. I feel like we don't talk enough about postpartum anxiety or psychosis or intrusive thoughts at all. I didn't know that a lot of those things were things. So I thought it was normal that I wouldn't sleep because I was just so afraid of some crazy thing happening to my baby, like the bassinet falling apart and then it falling on my baby, or like the crib just fell apart and now it just smushes my kid. Like I thought everybody struggled with that postpartum. And of course, like I wasn't telling my doula like, oh, I'm not sleeping because I'm worrying about these things. It was just like, oh, I don't sleep so well. So like people around you can't fully help you if you aren't going to be 100% transparent with them. And I was too ashamed of my thoughts. And I felt like, well, I'm not on the couch crying, nonstop. So I don't have a depression. But if I would have had a therapist already and I would have been talking to them regularly, then I wouldn't have struggled for so long.
Yeah. It's a beast. And this conversation is so important, but I feel like we're just touching the surface of it. And so, again, Raye is a resource to any of you on the call. And if, like we said, if you have questions, please don't feel ashamed to ask them here in this discussion or follow up with Raye. You guys will be getting all of her contact information after this in my post-event email. So please reach out to her as a resource. You can also DM either one of us on Instagram. I manage the Populist Instagram account, so it's me that you'll have a discussion with. So if there's something we can help you with, please do not hesitate to reach out. And if we can't get you the answer. We will find it for you. We both care like deeply about this topic and just want the best for the expecting moms on the call and the new moms in the room, or caregivers. You know, your role is just as important. So, okay, when you aren't saving lives and improving them for hundreds and thousands of people, what do you like to do for fun? Like, what's something that isn't a parenting role in any capacity that brings you joy?
Yeah. I mean, I guess technically cooking is kind of parenting, but not really. Like, not when I'm doing it for fun and I'm trying like a random TikTok recipe or something that my kid that has all the allergies, I just can make something that he can't eat and it's only for me. Like, that is what I'm finding joy in doing in this season of life.
Okay, so cooking, perfect. That is the best answer you could have given for my next question, which is, what is like one nutritious postpartum meal that someone could easily make themselves or pre-prep, throw in a crock pot later? Like, what's your go-to nourishing meal for new parents?
Absolutely. I will always say soup or stew, like pick your
Mhm.
favorite, but the easiest by far is like chicken soup. Even if you want to do chicken noodle soup or chicken and rice soup, you can prep it ahead, you can put it in a crock pot, or you can dump it in an instant pot. So there's, like whatever you have, it's easy to prepare and it's so full of that broth, those root veggies, garlic, if you like ginger, like all of those herbs and spices that are so good for your gut health, so good for your hormones, great for your mental health, and it's nourishing. So
Awesome.
always go for a soup.
Pro tip, if you're gonna pre-prep the soup in like a freezer bag, write the expiration date on it, not the date you made the soup.
Yep.
Save yourself having to do math when you're because your brain is going to be a little foggy.
Absolutely. I remember looking in the freezer. My grandma had a whole lot of like just veggies in there. I mean, I loved like greens, all kind of like collard, turnip, mustard greens. My grandparents have like a garden. I grew up on a watermelon farm, so that they grow all kind of stuff. So I mean, it was great stuff, but I'm like, there's no label, there's no date. What's
Right.
happening here?
Yes.
Don't Is this
It's the
safe?
expiration date. Okay, so there are a bajillion things and resources, and it's hard to find um, it's hard to find really reputable resources, etc. So like if you are for the new parents on the line or those that are expecting a baby, where do you send people? Like where can they find resources and what are some of like your top recommendations for them?
Absolutely. So for mental health, I will always recommend Postpartum Support International. They have support groups for like a wide variety of people and life stages, and there's in person and there's virtual options, which I know is really important now, and especially for people who live in like rural areas and lack access to providers in person. I'll always recommend them. Then also Ruth Health, of course. You can get doula support, lactation support, and pelvic floor pre and post body work, which is something that I did not know the importance of until after I had my own kid and I had a 4 finger gap. And my midwife didn't even assess me for diastasis recti. She was just like, okay, can you do Kegels? And she was like, oh, where they're kind of weak, so you probably need to work on that. And then that was it. Um, and then it's like hard to find a pelvic floor therapist. There are none around me, but we have virtual options at Ruth Health that are amazing.
Cool. Thank you. What about like for people, okay, so Ruth Health you can access from anywhere because it's virtual. What about some more like resources near you? Like, in case there's anyone on the line from like rural Georgia, in addition to Ruth Health, is there something specific? Or no, you're it.
There are a few lone doulas and a midwife that I would refer to, but unfortunately, where I live really is almost a maternity care desert, and
Oh,
it sucks. Yeah, it sucks here. Atlanta is a little bit different. You know, if you're in that area, there are tons of amazing like home birth midwives. There's the Atlanta Birth Center. I've had really good experiences with the midwives at Wellstar North, Fulton, and there's just a lot more options there. Even chiropractors are there. And if you're in the Atlanta area, feel free to reach out. I can provide you with resources for there. But where I am now,
well, I'm glad you're there then. They
yeah.
certainly need you.
I have hope that once I pass my IBCLC exam and I'm able to like build insurance, I'll be able to do a lot more for people who wouldn't be able to access care otherwise. And I have really big dreams, so we'll see.
I believe it. Awesome. Okay, so we are just about at time. We like to leave like 15 minutes for Q&A.
Oh my God.
So we have another question. How old is your son?
Oh, my son will be 5 years old on June the 4th. And I feel like he's still a baby. I don't understand how this happens. Um, I don't know. Like I remember bringing him home from the hospital. I remember breastfeeding being a struggle, but we were able to keep going for like 30 months or 31 months or something of this allergen-free breastfeeding journey. Um, and now he's a kid and he's playing t-ball and soccer and graduating from K4 and just lost his first tooth the other day and happy.
Awesome. Okay, another question we have is what are some products that you sort of swear by and recommend?
Absolutely. So for postpartum, my would say a baby wrap is how I survived lots of days with a child that was very high needs or like wanted to be attached to me 24/7 without me losing my mind. A Perry bottle, which I know probably seems really like basic and simple, but that really, really helped, especially because I had the tearing. I would use it every single time I went to the bathroom. My doula even made like a herbal wash, which I can definitely share the recipe for, to promote like blood flow and healing because it took a really long time for me to heal. Like at 6 weeks, I still had stitches that weren't healed up or dissolved. So a Perry bottle really helped. Definitely like coconut oil or some type of nipple balm or cream if you plan on breastfeeding. A Haka because I
Mhm.
struggled with massive oversupply and
My
leaking.
pocket.
Yeah. A Haka saved the day. Um, what else?
Well, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but if you guys create a Populist account, there is a postpartum care category. It includes all the resources from Ruth Health that Raye mentioned, plus all the products that she's used, that I've used, like the ones that moms recommend, like tux pads, mesh underwear, high-waisted seamless underwear, a robe, the
Okay.
perineal spray, like everything is there. So you can go look at all those products. Okay, another question. Can you talk a little bit more about the pelvic floor? My baby is 2, and if I try to hold it, my bladder leaks. It seems like it gets worse when I'm stressed too. So before you dive into this, on June 9th, our whole webinar topic is pelvic floor. So register for that one, but Raye, specifically, if you can talk a little bit more about the pelvic floor, her baby's 2, when she tries to hold her baby, her bladder leaks. Seems like it gets worse when she's stressed.
Absolutely. And just to highlight, it seems like it gets worse when you get stressed, is that like our emotions affect our muscles in so many ways. And childbirth, pregnancy and childbirth is already like so hard on your pelvic floor muscles and they get weak. and we need to learn how to like care and rehab those muscles. So I would encourage you to book a consult with Ruth Health. You can book a 15-minute consult, and Kimberly
Are
will
those
be, yeah,
okay?
yep.
We'll send in the post of an email. I know the links to send, so I can include the link for the free 15-minute consultation.
Absolutely. Like, and it doesn't have to be that way. Like I mentioned, I had a four-finger gap, which was pretty severe, like diastasis. I didn't struggle like with the peeing with when I like sneeze or laugh, but my core was really, really, really weak, and I had severe back pain like all of the time. And you don't have to live life in your postpartum body not feeling good, which is like what I feel like most OBGYNs say, like, oh, this is just normal, this is just normal. It's what happens after you have a baby. And that's not true. Like, you don't have
No,
to feel like that.
and definitely not 2 years later, right? Her baby is 2 and mine is 1, and I just took my 4-year-old to a trampoline park. It's the first time I've ever been on a trampoline park, and how embarrassing, because it looks like I've just wet my pants. I'm 35 years old. But I mean, same for her. She probably doesn't love that she can't be out in public and hold her baby. And then it's like, we really cannot control our bodies. But I just started working on my pelvic floor. So there are resources out there. I'm not going to say her name because, she didn't give me permission, but there are resources out there that, like Raye said, you don't have to live like that. And booking that free 15-minute consultation is probably like the perfect first step.
Absolutely. And like, it doesn't matter how many months or years you are postpartum, it's never too late.
Right. I love that. Okay. I don't see any more questions. Oh, wait, yeah, I do. What physical symptoms should I expect to experience after giving birth? Um, I am not a medical professional, but what I will say is it's so different for every single person. My physical symptoms personally was bleeding. I felt like I was hit by a freight train. I pushed for 90 minutes in a row. And when I say 90 minutes in a row, I did not take a break. My husband was putting like an oxygen mask on my face in between contractions. My body was in such physical pain after. I couldn't walk that far. I ached. So I was emotional. I had like weird, just your hormones are surging. So, um, what physical symptoms should I expect to experience after giving birth? That's
It,
tough.
yeah. And it's like you said, it's so different for everyone. For me personally, and this one caught me like way off guard, is like my baby came out, and I think he came skin to skin, and then I just started shaking like nonstop. Like my teeth were chattering.
Yeah.
It's like my whole body had the shakes, and I wasn't prepared for
Did you
that.
have a medical birth?
No.
Okay, so I had an epidural with both my girls, and when I was coming off the epidural, I was shaking like crazy. So that's so interesting that we both had the same symptom, but different birthing experiences.
Yeah, like I got to the hospital when I was 8 centimeters dilated, so there was no time for anything. um, and yeah, like between an hour of me like walking into triage and then getting into the room, like it was just an hour and I'd had him. So everything happened really fast, but those shakes lasted forever. Um, and then like getting up to walk for the first time, even though I didn't have an epidural or anything, my body just hurt, like
Yeah.
hurt. And I was not prepared for that, because people say like, oh, a vaginal birth is so easy, like you're gonna feel so much better, but just wasn't prepared. And like everything loosens up to make space for this baby to come out. So it makes sense, right, that during the healing process, it's not gonna feel the most comfortable all the time. But I just wasn't
Right.
prepared for that at all. And then emotionally, I don't know why I thought I was just gonna tunnel right through, but after having a kid with jaundice and being in the hospital longer, I was just crying all the time.
So for, the person that asked this question, what physical symptoms should I expect to experience after giving birth, right? As a first-time parent, you don't know what you don't know. So she might experience symptoms that maybe she has never heard anyone else experience, that maybe just in her mother's intuition, she's like, okay, I don't think I should be experiencing this. This doesn't feel right. What what should she do? Should she have a plan with like her medical provider, her OB that she can contact in case of those questions? Like what would a new mom do?
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't have like a doula, then use your nurse line at your OBGYN or your midwife's office, or contact your midwife anytime you feel like something isn't quite right. Like you're gonna have bleeding, but if you feel like this is too
It's too
much,
much.
or it's too fast, or I'm passing really big clots, call your doctor. Like, never be afraid to reach out. It's always better to get more information. Even if you need to go in and be checked out, that's way better than saying, oh, well, like, I think this is normal. Like, I had to encourage one of my friends to go in 3 days postpartum for like a really bad headache. And I'm like, no, that, like, I don't care what people are saying, like headaches are hormonal. No, I don't care about any of that. I want you to go in and I want you to get your blood pressure taken, because you're in a risk zone for hypertension. And she was. So, like, pay attention to how you feel and what your intuition says.
Yeah, absolutely. And demand an answer. Like
Yeah.
if it's too vague, follow up. And maybe that is a perfect task that you can give your partner. Again, if they need to sign a release form at your doctor's office, think through that scenario. But sometimes doctors can give vague answers, and then you hang up the phone. You're like, wait, that didn't make that much sense. Call
Mhm.
back. Like, do not stop until you get the information you need to feel better. And if you need to make an appointment before that 6-week checkup, do
Yes.
it. It's hard to leave your house, but your health is so, so important, because part of this discussion is like, listen, we cannot be expected to take care of our newborn babies if we cannot take care of ourselves. And you have people that you need to find to rally around you to make sure that you are healing, you are getting the nutrients and minerals and vitamins and the care that you deserve and should be required. And so it's so rare that your mom's intuition is wrong. So just really pay attention, and your body better than anyone else. And of course, your body is going to be new after giving birth, and there's going to be symptoms you're experiencing that are for the first time. But you're just going to know. You're going to know when something feels normal, and you're going to know when something doesn't. And don't give up until you get the answers that you need. And you can also hire Raye and she can be your advocate. And there are people out there that are on standby ready to support you. So I hope that helps a little.
Absolutely.
Okay, so 2 minutes left. Thank you, Raye. It's such an honor to have someone like you on this call with us. Thank you to everyone that joined. You'll get an automated email from GoToWebinar, but you're going to get a second one from me that includes, it recaps the questions that were asked. I will hyperlink all the resources that were shared, the products that Raye likes, including the donut pillow. And again, reach out if there's anything that we can do to support you. Please don't feel ashamed to put postpartum products on your registry. In 2 weeks, we are launching our funds feature. So you will be able to have a midwife and doula fund, a pelvic floor postpartum fund, like whatever you need for your village and friends and family to pull resources towards and money to, you will be able to create. And so that is coming to Populist. So just know that. And please, please, please don't hesitate to let us know how we can help you. And thank you guys for being here.
Thank you so, so, so much for the opportunity. It went so fast, and I hope that you all have a great takeaway. Thank you again.
All right, you guys, talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, now I gotta figure out how to stop it. Where's Emily when I need her? Okay, let me see. These people are just gonna hang on to laugh because I can't figure this out. pause. I don't know what that does. I'm just gonna exit out. See y'all.
Okay.
Bye, Raye.
Bye.